We're starting Be'ezras Hashem Siman Kufay and Hey and Vayo and Moshe, and the subject is the similarities between the Shabbos Tzvi movement and the Zionist movement of today, and the suffering of those who oppose it. V'kasher hischila hamavucha noira mikash shatzi mach shemoy. When the movement, the upset in the Jewish world of Shabbos Tzvi happened, Batchila hita kamat es kol ha'olam kulei. At the beginning, he confused and led astray and misled almost the entire world. Af gedolim atzumim shahayu bayamim mahim. Even great gedolim, some of them believed in the movement. The Amari Shashport, Rabbi Yaakov Saspordas Zal, Shahaya Az Gadol Ador, Begoines Ukdusha Yisera. He was a Sephardi Goin who was from North Africa. Eventually he came to Amsterdam. He became the Rav of the Sephardi community there. And that's what he was doing, I think, during the Shabbos Tzvi movement in 1666, 1667, around that time. Later, I think he was the chief rabbi of England. Chief Sephardi rabbi. In any case, so he was an anti-Shabbatian, and he wrote books against it, especially the Sefer Tzitzatz Novel Tzvi. We're going to see in a second. And this Sefer was later published by Rabbi Yaakov Emden in a short version called Kitzer Tzitz Novel Tzvi, which is the only version we have today. I don't think the original version is still around, or if it is, it's a rare Sefer. So it describes in Arichas all the debates that he had with people at that time. So Ba'amari Shashport Zal Shahaya Az Gadol Ador V'go'enes Ukdusha Yisera V'ro'isi Mechachmi Doiroi. I saw other Chachamim of his time, Shemitari Moisei B'Toira HaKadosh HaEloki. They call him the godly, holy person. Hu haya haroish,
like the rebbe, the Lubavitch rebbe.
Hu haya haroish v'arishin. He was the first one, she'amad b'milchama chazaka negdoi, who stood up and fought against Shabbos Tzvi.
The Rav Shach fought against the Lubavitch rebbe.
V'hifkir es chayav neged kol hakamim alav b'zeh. And he put his life in danger against those who were against him, because everybody who was a Shabbatian they were violently, they suppressed all opposition. You know, in the shuls they used to say prayers for Shabbos Tzvi. They printed this picture in the front of the shul. Right, and they had letters everywhere, and it was like you had to stay there. And if you left the shul while they were saying the bracha of Shabbos Tzvi, then woe to you.
Even in Crown Heights, you have about attacking somebody physically. You know, you say anything bad with the rabbi, you'll go to the rabbi. Yeah.
Anyway, and this was in Europe. This is not just in the Sephardi countries where Shabbos Tzvi lived. He lived in Turkey, by the way. He lived in Smyrna, and that's where the movement really took off. He went around different places, but eventually
it goes against Ovadia Yosef's false claim. The Sephardi never had any course movements. Here you have one here. Now the movements were all over.
They came to the shul of Smyrna. The Rav was against him. He banged down the door of the shul, and they went in and they changed the.
How does Shabbos even start?
They said the bracha with Hashem's name. They ate chaylev. They did all kinds of things.
What made Shabbos even start this movement? What's the exact history? Do you know?
There's a whole history behind it. I can't go into it now, but he was a deluded person, a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
In any case, so he was the first one who stood up against him. This Rabbi Yaakov Saspordas, he wrote afterwards Sefer Tzitzatz Novel Tzvi Dal Chalakim, a 4-volume work explaining the whole history of the movement. Asher bo yesupar kol ha'morai she'avru v'chalfu b'inyan hashatz. He tells us the whole story. The cost of Sham, b'chelik Aleph, she'medaber Sham mehaschal so'inyan. He speaks there in the first volume about how the movement started. V'hinani matik eze shurois b'kitzer me'emsa dvarav v'zel l'shoinai. I'm going to copy over some of his words. Loicha dalti mi livkais b'chia kavua. I did not stop crying. Al kalois Hu'amuna hachadasha hazois, that the ease with which this new amuna took hold among Jews. Levilti hashki fellow emes, and they didn't pay attention to the truth. I wasn't even able to speak to simple Jews about the subject because they didn't want to hear from me what I had to say. And because she came bifnei Baalei Torah, I for sure couldn't speak to those who were Talmidei Chachamim. On the contrary, the Talmidei Chachamim opposed me and they fought against me. And they gave me They gave me speeches. Haim chacham ata mikol chachmei Yisrael. They said, you're against Shabbos Tzvi. Are you wiser than all the wise sages of the Jewish people, hakroivim v'archoikim, from all parts of the world, shekimu kol zeh, they all believe in it? Ulefa'amim ha'isi soichek, ulefa'amim koyes. Sometimes I would laugh at them, and sometimes I would be angry at them. V'im kitzas ba'alei seichel, hayu dvarai v'im ma'atim. It says it says with those few people who were ba'alei seichel, who really understood, then and I spoke to them, even if they were v'im ma'atim heim, even if there were a few of them, nishmu l'ma'amarai. They listened to what I said. Loimar loy sastur mi'acharei kabbalasenu. Don't depart from our traditions. Ki kol hashmuos tohu v'chamudeim bal yo'ilu. All the news that was going around the world about Shabbos Tzvi, that the Aseret HaShvatim had been found, and all of a sudden they say that everyone should do tshuva, and everyone should go in the mikveh in the cold ice and roll in the snow. This is what people were doing in those days. Well, and say certain things 100 times. And
well, I tell you, at least Shabbos was backed up by Big Chacham. The Lubavitch Rebbe received barely any backup.
Anyway, ki hahamoin ta'avosam higbira dimyoinam.
Oh, but the Lubavitch Rebbe, he did actually abolish Shal Shuz and Lav Malka as part of, the Mashiach is already here.
Ki hahamoin, the multitudes of the Jewish people were confused because ta'avosam higbira dimyoinam. Their taiva, their longing for the geula, made their imaginations get carried away with them, and they that's why they did it. V'chulu yuyin sham shahayizman orech. He writes there that there was a long period of time that there were only a few small number of people who were standing up at the risk of their lives against the majority, who considered them to be heretics. They said, anybody who doesn't believe in Shabbos Tzvi is a heretic. And they called them people who were causing others to sin, because they didn't believe in the Mashiach and his prophets.
Yeah, I think about Erbil the prophet too.
And he brings down there at the end of the first volume, even when they found out that Shabbos Tzvi converted to Islam, there was still a large majority of the Jews who continued to believe in him.
How do you believe
so listen, some of them denied the fact. They said it can't be. He didn't do it. It's just it's a false rumor. And some of them said, yeah, he did it, but there's a secret reason for it.
Islam.
And there are some that went and converted to Islam with him.
At least Lubavitch aren't converted. The Rebbe didn't convert to another religion, and say that
Anyway,
although he did make it be similar to Christianity, that a human being is God incarnated.
Until this day, there are Jews in Turkey who are practicing Islam, but they're descendants of those original Jews who converted to Shabbos Tzvi. Yeah. Good sir. This mistake and this movement continued for a long time, for about 100 years after his conversion, by the way.
Even after Rebbe's death, and
by the way, they say when Shabbos Tzvi died, about 10 years after the movement, 10, 15 years later, so Nosson Hazasi said, he's not really dead, he's just hidden from us.
Yeah, Lubavitch say. Lubavitch say exactly. Never died, he only was saying, but he's still in 770. Who does Hazasi?
He was the prophet of Shabbos Tzvi. He's the one who said all the nevuos. He brings down, Rabbi Yaakov says, this brings down, I'm sorry, we did this already. Some of the Ashkenazim in Europe, who were the most attached to him, they refused to believe the thing that he converted to Islam. They didn't want to even listen to anybody who said anything against him. And not to mention the fact that he converted. They said, no, you know what he did? He went up to Shemaim. And we just see a body here, it looks like him, and that's the one who converted to Islam. That's not really him. And they said other crazy things. That it's also to waste paper on. hayu oimdim keneged misha mekalloy and the people of the Shabbos Tzvi movement got up and fought against whoever would curse him. Or said anything that was disrespectful about him, b'dvarim, with words, or l'shum navi min neviyav, or anything disrespectful about any of his neviim, hamuchzakim etzlam, that they considered to be prophets. Ad kan l'shoynai. V'shuv achar kach b'yester achalakim, and the rest of the volumes of this sefer, hevi mashal la'at niskala kloinai. He says that eventually, slowly, people realized that he was false. As we look back into the Sfarim that talk about the movement, they suffered from this movement for a long time. It was more than 100 years until they were completely extinguished. That there was a long time that those few people that knew the truth were afraid of the generation. That if this would have happened, he says, if those few people would have just kept quiet and not spoken up because of fear of the generation, then what would have happened? Then the Jewish people would have been chas v'shalom lost, because everyone would have been off the derech. But why did we survive? Why did we get past it? Because there were people who stood up for the truth, and they said, even though they were afraid for their lives, they spoke up anyway. They're the ones who saved the generation. Why was it so? Why did people get so duped by Shabbos Tzvi? The Shabbos Tzvi knew the whole Shas.
Like the Rebbe did.
Yeah, and he knew all the poskim. By the age of 15, they say he knew it. He's about to say, all the writings of the Arizal.
Oh, like the Rebbe, you can't follow everything.
Even when he was young, even at that time, he knew everything. He used to fast a lot, and he used to toivel himself in cold water. He used to have a beautiful voice and sing. He sang Tehillim and he sang songs. They say he sang Spanish love songs, and he explained to them that it was really a mashal for Klal Yisrael and Mashiach. Anyway, it was an amazing thing in the eyes of everyone who saw. He also did amazing things. He caused many thousands of Jews to do tshuva. So wherever he went, Jews did tshuva. The Rabbi Yaakov Sasportis and the Rabbi Yaakov Emden both tell the story. Other Sfarim too. That it wasn't so surprising that he was able to fool so many people who were already hungry for the Geula, not thirsty for it. They were just fainting to hear about it. Many great Gedolim of the time were tricked by him, because they saw the amazing powers of his movement to make Bali Tshuva. They didn't know yet that he was so bad. They didn't know. In Europe, the news didn't travel so fast. There was just word of mouth.
Yeah.
They didn't have
and no press back then either.
Press. So how are they supposed to know? So they heard different things. The Mashiach is here.
Well, somebody would have to travel by ship first.
Right. It took 3 months to get from Poland to Turkey to go this.
3 months?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh.
Maybe 3 weeks, 3 months.
Well, to but to go from Turkey to Morocco was a long trip. That's all the way from that's like about 3,000 miles about as long as the U.S. is.
So it took a long time, and so that they heard different things. They say the Taz, by the way, the Taz was an old man at the time of the movement. He sent his Talmidim to check him out because he heard, good things and bad things. He wasn't sure. Anyway, Gam harba gadol matzim toba b'chila shiroi koich zatzum manis karim leil b'oid shaloi hayi nikar adayin koich atuma shebekirboy lahasis ulahadiach to confuse Jews, to lead them astray. Mitoyer of the Amunah, it's from the Torah and from the belief. Kasher Nizgala Vasoy. V'shuv Achar Kach Kasher Hischel K'tzas L'Izgalos. When it did become revealed that he was bad, Adayin Hay Kash Laharba Mehem Lahasti Min Alev. It was hard for them to take out of their hearts what they believed in before. Once you believe in something, you invest a lot of time and effort in it. Then if it becomes false, it's very hard to change. Like I brought down from the Rebbe Levi ben Chaviv, when he wrote against Smicha, he said the people who paskin that you could do the Smicha with the Mari Beirav, even if they're proven wrong later, they're not going to change their mind so easily. To go back from something you did already, yesh negia gedola, hamasames einaim. There's a bias. Once they knew that the people went off and they became total koifrim, and they wrote books. They wrote a book called Raza di Mehemenusa.
What's that book?
It's a book, a Kabbalah sefer that Shabbos Tzvi allegedly wrote in his old age. Maybe one of his Talmidim really wrote it, but it's full of kfira, total kfira. There are 3 gods and all kinds of stuff.
I've never too considered that every Nasi Ador is a god clothed in human form, and God is not concealed. God's revealed in the form of Nasi Ador.
Because so once they saw this kfir that came out of the movement, and the Frankist movement that was a hemshech of it, right? That was also total kfir. So nichnesu harbe gedolim ukdoishim lilchoim negdam b'mesiras nefesh. Then many gedolim joined the fight against them. Ki hayu b'oisen adoris gedolim ukdoishim la'alafim. There were thousands of gedolim at that time. Gam b'soicha hamoin haya harbe yiras shemaim. Most of the Jews of the generation were yiras shemaim. They were from Jews. And they changed around, and they Baruch Hashem, they became anti-Shabbos Tzvi so much that they made a cherem against any of his believers every day. And those who followed them, to save themselves from them. And that's how the movement was able to be ended. However, the Rabbi Yaakov Emden, with his foresight, realized that there would be another movement someday, or like Zionism. Yeah. That's really the point here.
Yeah.
He's here tuva, and therefore he warned never to be afraid of the generation. Even if you feel that you're the only one saying the truth, don't go back. Like I already copied his lashon before. And it's an amazing thing that the Zionist movement that brings a false geula today, they didn't even have what Shabbos Tzvi had. Shabbos Tzvi was a Ben Torah, someone who learned.
Yeah, at least the Rebbe too. The Rebbe too was a big Ben Torah who received speaking of the Regoch Gom, and he was without a doubt bucking the whole shots.
So if you have something like that, okay, you can understand why people would get confused. But here, Zionism started with total secular people. They didn't make any Bali Tshuva shots. Not even a bit. The whole Zionism from beginning to end, all they do is destroy Torah, destroy Yiddishkeit. They fill up the whole world with their kfir. And still people have made the mistake of following them. The Satan realized that our generation is very weak. He doesn't have to convince people with Bali Tshuva, he doesn't have to start a movement off with someone who's a Ben Torah. Our lowly generation and pained generation that went through so much suffering, right before Mashiach, Satan could confuse today's people just with the lowest things. But we hope to Hashem that that's not going to be the end. That really, eventually Yidden will do tshuva from Zionism. Hashem won't leave us. And by the way, this Siman, I think, is the end of the main part of the Sefer. That's why he's talking of these kind of tefillah dikul shoyness. He'll lift us up from the garbage heaps. V'soif kol soif yisgala ho'emes le'ein kol. And then the truth will be revealed. U'le'es data, le'es kozois, at least for now, anachnu b'doyer shalik for the Mashiach, asher noimar Allah v'atihi ho'emes nederes. We're living in the time before Mashiach when the truth is going to be absent. But v'yamru chazal b'sanhedrin daf tzadik zayin, melamid shenaseis adarim v'hoylechas la. That the truth becomes like flocks of sheep and it departs. It goes away from the rest of the people. But there's another pshat, by the way. The adarim means they separate out. The true Yidden separate out from the rest. The Rebbe said that at a different time. But now he's saying the pshat is that it becomes less and less. The truth becomes less. The number of people who believe in it are becoming smaller and smaller. The Maharsha brings down from the Yalkut that the truth, the people who seek the truth are going out to live in the midbar. The Maharsha says that the truth believers will go out into the desert and hide out because the people of that generation. If you learn the simple pshat that they're going out into a desert and living in the desert, how could that be? How could you live there? That the pshat is that even when a Yid who's a Mamin lives in a city of other Yidden, but he's like he's in the midbar. Why? Because he doesn't have any shaykhs to the rest of the people. They're separated from each other. They don't go to the same shul. They can't attend the same events. They have to be kept separate. It's similar to what the Maharsha brings down there. But still, even when we suffer so much, we're still not going to depart from the truth. He knows how weak we are. He knows the depth of the galus. He won't leave and desert our people who are so poor. He'll light up our eyes in the truth. In the end, the truth will be what remains. The truth bears witness to itself. Hashem should help us with the covenant of His name. That He'll help us with His Yeshua soon in our days. Amen.